Hey, everybody, welcome to the Nurse Mark and the Green Nurse Daily Dose of AFA.
Where we bring you hope and inspiration for growth and healing so you can start your day off the AFA way. And in case you have forgotten, Nurse Mark
Oh,
wrote a book.
we'll tell you every weekday morning that you are absolutely fucking amazing exactly as you are. Exactly as you are. No, you don't need to get another degree. You don't even have to have a degree. You don't even have to have a high school diploma. You don't have to have anything. You're absolutely amazing exactly as you are.
How awesome is that to hear that every morning, Nurse Mark? You know
What
what?
a place to start from. If you start the
It-
day with the knowledge, with the innate knowledge that you're absolutely amazing, every interaction that you have throughout your day is going to be amazing because that's
Absolutely.
what you are.
That's it. And that's what we do here. We bring hope and inspiration for growth and healing because we
Yeah.
do want you all to have an AFA day, live an AFA way so you can live your best life. So this is
Yeah.
awesome. I love all these little buttons. Hope, inspiration, growth, and healing. The Green Nurses. Here's the book right here. Amazon bestseller, right? Rise and shine.
Yeah.
It is Nurse Mark and the Green Nurse time.
That's right. That's right. And Sherry, it's a
Yes,
beautiful day, Wednesday,
it is.
June 2nd, 2021. It's the only one
Yep,
of these that we get.
that's
So we
it.
might as well make the best of it, don't you think?
I think we should make the best of it. We got a
Yeah,
lot of great stuff to talk about today.
we
Starting
really
off
do.
with the daily.
Daily love. Let's do the daily love. Now, you can listen to the daily love recorded right here on this link. Yeah, and
Yay.
this is where it lives now. So the
That's it.
daily love posted up every single day. I've been doing it since last February. Started in New York City in my one bedroom apartment. I was by myself in COVID time. And I
COVID
started this
time.
daily love. So the daily love is just a reading and a musing and just a sharing of what really motivates me, what really gets me to start my day in a magical way. There's the concept of the 10-10-10. So it's just 10 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes of journaling, 10 minutes of reading something
Oh my God.
really meaningful to you.
That's
So,
awesome. You know what, this Mark, I'm just going to really interrupt. I love that. The 10, 10, and 10, because I
yeah,
used to call it the hour of power. So if you
yep.
don't have an hour, you can at least do 10, 10, and 10.
Yeah, yeah.
Even
I
better.
got that from I went to a regional leadership academy for entrepreneurs organization in Washington D.C. a few years ago.
Mhm.
And I'd been doing that for a while before that, but it was really cool to get in the room and have these amazing leaders and it was Warren Rustand and Brian Bro and George Gann from Malaysia, and they were the leaders. And Warren, oh my gosh, he's an amazing human being. He was Gerald Ford's executive, right? So he worked with the
Mhm.
president, Gerald Ford, in the 70s. He was a professional basketball player. He's an entrepreneur and a CEO who's led, I don't know, 40 or 50 different companies. Anyway, Warren's amazing. Brian, same story. George Gann. But they shared that the 10-10-10 is something that they do every day.
There you
And
go.
so it was nice to receive that sort of confirmation that I'm doing some things that really help. So
Yeah.
anyway,
All
let's go
right.
on with the daily love. Today, it's called Adventurous, and this is right up my alley. Oh, Sherry. So here we go. I live my life as a continuous adventure. In the past, I may have felt scared to try new things, feeling intimidated about looking foolish or feeling frustrated about not doing something well. Today, I take a new approach and see trying new things as an adventure. Life is meant to be
Mm.
lived fully, even if it means taking some risks. With an adventurous spirit, I open my mind to the possibilities around me. I step out of my self imposed boundaries and welcome new experiences. I may join a club, take a class, or learn to play a musical instrument. More than that, I am welcoming a change in attitude within myself. I see myself deserving of growth, fun, and a life full of color and energy. With
Mm.
courage and fortitude, I declare I love to try new things. I am adventurous.
Oh, I love it. I declare I love to try new things and
Yeah.
I am adventurous.
Oh my
I
God. Well,
am are the two most
I
important
am.
words.
Anytime you have an affirmative statement, I am the two most powerful words.
Yeah,
You
I
own
am.
that. So, Sherry,
Yes.
I am adventurous.
I am adventurous too. It's
I know.
we certainly are, boy.
Oh my gosh. I've seen you jump out of a plane. Never did it before. You just said, I'm doing this. It's my birthday. I'm going. And
Talk
you did
about
it.
that's what it is. It's basically looking at fear in the eyeball
Yeah.
and just doing it anyways, literally you don't have to jump out of a plane to overcome your fears.
Oh my gosh.
But it was
Early in life, I, was somewhat adventurous, but you know what? There was always something holding me back because when I would look at new things to try or to do, I would say, well, you're really not that good at it, right? You're really not
Mm,
that good. Maybe you shouldn't. It's like being at the school dance and standing against the wall the whole time because you're too scared to step onto the dance floor and look like a fool, right? I mean,
right.
unless you're going to step out there and be, this magnificent dancer, then you better not do it. Oh, hell no, I'm not like that now. Shit, I'm the
Yeah.
first one on the dance floor. If the party
Oh,
needs to get started, woo!
I
I am
know,
your guy.
right?
I am
I
your
hear
guy.
you.
So you got to get rid of that, right? You got to get rid of that need to think that you need to be perfect at something before
Perfect.
you actually try it.
Yes, and here's a really cool thing how I've overcome a lot of those fears
Yeah.
is through pretending. And that's one of the things that my children have taught me the most
Mhm.
is to pretend. So when I first started podcasting, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Radio shows, podcasting. I go, what's the difference between a radio show and I didn't even know the difference. So interesting thing enough, it was like pretend, just pretend and see what happens. Then
There
it
is
gives
a lot
yourself
of
off the
that
hook.
fake it till you make it. Absolutely. So,
Yeah. So,
I
and
mean,
you
when
learn
you
as you
learn a
go.
musical instrument, right? You don't
Yeah.
sit down and just play. Like, for instance, guitar. I've played guitar since I was 15.
You have?
And I used to have the attitude,
Mhm.
I don't want to play unless I can play like Eric Clapton or Jimi Hendrix. Like that's the level I want to play at. However, I wasn't willing to spend all of the hours that they've spent finely tuning their craft. You know what I mean?
Right,
I had
exactly.
this concept that I should just be able to sit down and play like that.
Play. Yeah.
No.
Well, I'll have to say, reading music to me is definitely a gift. I tried when I was in school. I took the violin and I was not very good at it, but that's okay.
That's
I
okay.
enjoyed it. I had fun holding the instrument. It was a
Mhm.
challenge for me to read music, but at the same time, I learned a lot. And so
Yeah.
I didn't let that fear, I had the umbrella. I faked
Mhm.
it literally. I watched
Yep.
all the other bows going back and forth, but it was an adventure. So I really, really like that whole concept of,
Yeah.
stepping out,
So
you know.
share June 2nd, 2021. For you guys who
Yeah,
are listening, this could be the day.
this could
This
be the
could be the
day.
day that you step outside of that fear and you step into a magnificently adventurous life. Seriously,
Yes,
this is the
true.
only June 2nd, 2021 you're ever going to get. This is it. This is not the
Ex-
dress rehearsal. This is live. You are in it. Do something adventurous today.
Adventurous. And today we are going to be adventuring into our microbiome.
Woo!
A whole
Diving
new
today
world.
into the microbiome.
Yep. Wellness Wednesday, wise wisdom for
Mhm,
wellness.
mhm.
Mark and I we talk about health awareness, all the different subjects that come
Oh,
up every
yeah.
month, and we relate them to the endocannabinoid system. And last
Mhm.
week we were talking about gut health and microbiome, and Mark made the suggestion that we really dig into it a little bit more. And I was like, that's such a really good idea. Mark, you mentioned last week that there's big, giant
Listen,
breakthroughs in medicine.
this came from Dr. Sanjeev Chopra, and he
Yeah.
and I have had the opportunity, and I feel like honored to be in the same room, in the same space, and interacting. And he shared that in his opinion, and I agree with him in this. In
Yeah.
his opinion, he believes that there are 4 major breakthroughs in healthcare today. One is artificial intelligence. He tells a story about how they use artificial intelligence now to determine whether someone has colon cancer or not. Like the machine learning, the artificial intelligence is far better than any human being at determining whether it's cancerous or not. Like this has been, they see the results. It's absolutely verified. So machine learning, artificial intelligence is going to play a huge role in healthcare, and it's going to decrease, the incidence of false negatives or false positives. It's going to be much more finely honed. So that's one. Then there's gene splicing, a huge area that can really have a profound impact on our health. Because if we can, at a genetic level, repair some things that are not correct, we can possibly cure a lot of disease, because you get what you get with your gene pool.
Exactly.
You don't get to choose. And if there's a little bit of a little
single nucleotide polymorphism,
will be able to in the future possibly rectify that.
That's
the third area that's transformative in healthcare is the psychedelic revolution. And this isn't new, by the way. Psychedelics have been used for thousands and thousands of years in many different ways, medicinally, ritually, and always with the intent of stepping out of this human experience and seeing more of what's really out there. So this is another one in regard to mental health care, right? We all know that the current state of mental health care is one that it's a system that the practitioners don't have a lot of tools. Like there aren't a lot of tools. So psychedelics offer the hope that this is a new realm where we can have an amazingly transformative effect on people who have mental illness. Now, for me, this hits really close to home because my whole life I have dealt with depression and mood disorder. Like that's what my life is. That's how I'm wired. And, tried every medication. Let me tell you, I know them intimately. So if you want to ever have a conversation about any of the medications that are prevalent in the mental health care space, I'm your guy because I have personal experience with almost all of them. And, the deal is, Sherry, that they didn't work for me and they don't work for most people. 40% at best get a positive result. So what are we left with? We're left with having to do a lot of work. And that's how AFA came about. It's a story about all of the work that I had to do because medications didn't work to get to a point to where, I was able to effectively deal with my depression. Now, it's not cured. Absolutely not. Not like I still have days that I absolutely suffer. Like it's painful to be inside of my head. It's just the way it is. But I have tools that I pick up and that I use. And you know what? Psychedelics plays a role within that.
Yes, huge role. Yeah, absolutely. Just even knowing. Yeah. And then the fourth one, which we're going to talk about today, which is huge, and this has to do a lot to do with my personal story, the microbiome.
This is
it's a universe.
Edge healthcare.
Yeah. And I've actually thought of a few other shows that we can do that's going to even go along with the microbiome theme for a while, because there's so much. The more when I was digging in, it just led off these little paths and tangents of more information as to how and why it's important and the things that we can do to take care of it. Because the microbiome is 100% directly linked and connected to the endocannabinoid system.
Of course,
100%.
It's absolutely directly linked to your mood and whether you're depressed or not. Because Sherry, we know that 80% of our serotonin is created in the gut. So if your gut's off, that serotonin's not being produced in the manner in which it should be.
It should be. Yeah. And then the other thing that we talked about too is like our gut. Our enteric nervous system, which is from our mouth to our butt, communicates to our central nervous system, our brain, via the endocannabinoid system. So the microbiome is really, really important.
Huge. That enteric nervous system is its own brain unto itself.
Exactly.
If you sever the link, like if you have a horrific accident and you lose this part from the neck up, this still works.
This
Like
still
the
works.
entire nervous system still functions. So it's its own brain in and of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the microbiome refers to the presence, we want to kind of explain what it is,
Mhm.
refers to the presence of microorganisms, viruses,
Yep.
bacteria,
Mhm.
fungus that lives inside the human body.
Right.
So some of these viruses, bacterials, and funguses are beneficial, right?
They're
And then some of
required.
the,
You
yeah,
can't
you
even
need
live
them.
without them.
Exactly.
Seriously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then others are disease causing or
Mhm.
pathological.
Mhm.
So here's a really, really cool statistic when I started doing the research. And I got this information from cannabis, which is amazing because there is some research on the microbiome and the endocannabinoid system.
Oh,
So
yeah.
in 2016, it was estimated that the entire human body
Mhm.
contains 3 times as many bacteria as human cells alone.
That's
Okay.
huge number.
That's huge. So we've got trillions of cells. So if the
Mhm.
human body contains 3 times as many bacteria as human cells, that's huge. So just think about it. We're filled with bugs and thugs. That's how I look at it.
Right.
Right.
Right. We are filled.
And yes. And here's the other one. The American Academy of Microbiology
Mhm.
estimates that the number of human cells is between 30 and 40 trillion.
Right. Right.
So we have more bacteria in our body than we do cells. Let
Yes.
that sink in. So we got to
Yes.
take care of them. We got to take
Hey,
care of those little
hey,
bugs.
let's let this reality sink in. You
Okay.
are someone else's universe. You are someone else's universe. They live in you, on you, as part of you. Without you, they don't live. So it's a
There you
huge
go.
symbiotic relationship, right? We
Yeah,
need them, they need us. I keep mentioning this
I love
example,
it.
and it comes from Men in Black when
Yes, they open
I
up
can't remember the character, Will Smith's character, he opens up the door
the locker.
on the locker, and is this whole little colony of little space aliens, and they believe him to be God because he brought the watch in and put it in there, and it's the keeper of the time, and literally we are
It's,
someone else's universe. Those
we
bacteria
are.
rely on us. So Sherry, let's continue on because this is super
This
important.
is really good. This is really good. And this has a lot to do with so many different illnesses. So
Yeah.
the vast number of the microbiome, so the microbiome mostly colonizes in the gut. So that's
Mhm.
our gut flora.
Yeah.
So a healthy microbiome refers to the natural internal environment
Mhm.
favoring those beneficial microbes, the
Right.
funguses and the bacteria. And so Mark and I had even said, because we heard us say before, the healthy microbiome impacts our mood,
Oh,
our energy production, and our
yes.
immune response. It all
Mhm.
ties in together. So, and in
Right.
contrast, obviously, when the microbiome is unhealthy, the pathological microbes, the bacterias, can take over. And then what we do, we lose resilience and become more vulnerable to disease.
Well, Sherry, now this is a big problem, right? Because there are a lot of other bacteria that we pick up along the way that are not beneficial. And
Hmm.
so when we prescribe antibiotics to try to kill those bad ones, we
Hmm.
inadvertently, because, let's face it, in healthcare, we're really using a sledgehammer still. We're not using a tiny little, very focused thing, right? So
Right.
antibiotics, they're like,
They
oh,
kill
kill the
everything.
bacteria. Good, bad, we don't care. We're just going to kill it.
Yep.
So you
Yeah.
end up with this unhealthy gut as a result of trying to treat the bacteria
Exactly.
that's not very healthy for you. So it's really
Well, and a classic example is C. diff. So you think
C.
about
diff.
patients will go on antibiotics for a
Mhm.
specific condition, a bacterial infection. The antibiotic will work great to kill that infection, but at the same time, it's also wiping out the healthy bacteria in the
Right.
gut microbiome. And
Mhm.
then what happens? An overgrowth of these other bacteria start to colonize. The C.
Yeah.
diff spores start to grow and
Mhm.
grow and grow and overtake. Their bad weeds,
Yeah.
overtake and colonize the gut, and
Mhm.
then causes another whole condition to
Right.
happen. So
And
really,
then you
really
and then you have to
interesting.
deal with that. It's very common in long-term care and hospital settings because, you're being treated and you lose that, ability to fend off these other bacteria because
Yeah.
you've killed off all the good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing, so we were
Mhm.
in Canakees, they called it a microbiome imbalance
Yep.
or dysbiosis,
I love that
right?
word.
And so it's a hormonal, nutritional, and infectious disorder of the digestive system.
Yeah.
It's known as microbiota, bacterial enteritis, dysbacteriosis, and then we already just said dysbiosis.
Right. So the symptoms of a microbiome imbalance: weight gain, sugar cravings, abdominal bloating.
Right.
And there's increased morbidity with that because it's an inflammatory condition. You develop immune disorders, chronic fatigue, cancer, mood disorder, gastrointestinal infections. I mean, this is serious stuff. I mean,
it is serious stuff.
This is life or death. It really is.
I'm just going to give a patient example.
Yeah.
The patient's me. So my microbiome was affected in such a bad way. I did get pseudomembranous C. diff colitis. My microbiome was wiped out. Nothing worked until cannabis came into my life. But the unhealthy microbiome that I had contributed to me getting the autoimmune condition, that chronic inflammatory condition, chronic myofascial pain disorder, polymyalgia rheumatica. So it was really, I didn't realize how much my gut being unhealthy contributed to all these other things that I started getting. Like, like literally all of these other conditions started to manifest because my gut was unhealthy. And we see that a lot with so many different patients.
Well, it's like the domino effect. This thing's affected, then this thing's affected. I mean, it's all part of the endocannabinoid system, right? But these little things all take place one right after another, sometimes in synchronicity, right? So, for me, my personal experience in my mother's family, diverticulitis is common. So my grandfather had it very badly. My mother suffered with it very badly, and that's when you have diverticuli in your colon that get inflamed to a point to where nothing passes through. So you have a blockage in effect. So it's an inflammatory condition. And
my mother has that too. It's an interesting thing.
Related to your microbiome.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Absolutely.
Right? Now,
100%.
There has to be a genetic component, right? Because grandfather had it, mother had it. I have a bit of it. So
you go.
It has to be a genetic component that's in there too. So it really is fascinating how intricate this is. I mean, what we live in, this is an amazing.
We have many universes within our body.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Right, really cool. Now, this is where it gets really exciting, Mark.
Yep.
The part that, there weren't a ton of studies. As a matter of fact, there was no human trials or double-blind placebo. There were 10 total studies, 1 lab, 4 animal, 1 meta-analysis. So these were studies on cannabinoids and the microbiome. What I found to be so fascinating, and I can actually stand here in my truth and say that, was that there was 100% overall positive results using cannabinoids.
Well, Sherry, we know it's the cannabinoids are very positive in regard to, other conditions of the gut, IBS, ulcerative colitis. Like there have been human trials done for those specifically.
Right.
So we know that.
Yes, exactly.
So it would follow on that. Perhaps it's positive for the microbiome as well.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Maybe that's part of the mechanism of action that helps those other conditions.
Absolutely. But the other thing that I found positive, really interesting too, is how, they studied all the different types of chemotype.
Yeah.
They studied chemotype 1, which is THC dominant, was the most studied. However, chemotype 2 and 3, they were studied not as much as the THC studies, but it showed that THC worked really, really well on improving gut microbiome health. And then we actually, Mark and I did a show. We should probably review that another week. We did do a show specifically, particularly on irritable bowel, Crohn's disease, and ulcerative colitis. So inflammatory bowel disease, inflammatory bowel conditions. And you're right. The research is there.
A lot of people suffer from it.
So they were these particular 10 studies were looking at the microbiome imbalance of the endocannabinoid system. And so the synopsis of the cannabis research, states that the endocannabinoid system, as we know, interacts with the microbiome to modulate a number of mechanisms in regards to autoimmune conditions, chronic inflammation, obesity,
Right.
metabolic syndrome, and
Yeah.
mood disorders.
Which, yeah, go figure. Go
Go
figure that
figure,
all of those are indicated
right?
in this in
Yeah,
cannabis and the gut.
yeah,
So full spectrum extracts, FICO, were able to significantly reduce the presence of Staphylococcus aureus, Pseudomonas aeruginosus, nosa,
inosa,
aeruginosus, yeah, and E. coli, and they're all considered unhealthy members of the microbiome. Like Staph A, we study that in nursing school and grow that in the lab all the time.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so very, very common. THC reduced weight gain, fat mass gain, and energy intake in diet-induced obesity, but not lean mice, meaning in overweight mice versus lean mice.
right. Oh, I like that. How THC, you guys listen to this? THC reduced weight gain. Everyone
Yeah.
thinks that if you're going to take THC, you're going to get fat,
No.
right? No, not necessarily.
Uh-uh.
I mean,
No, there was a
look
good
at
article
me.
on that. There was a really good article on that a month or two ago about how they did a study on on people who use cannabis on a regular basis and those who don't, and they looked at their body fat index and found that by and large the people who were using cannabinoids actually had less body fat percentage. Yeah.
Right. So the other part of the studies showed that
Mhm.
modulating the CB1 via agonist, antagonist,
Right.
the
THC.
cannabinoids tell our body to either do something or not do something, has
Yeah.
shown to control gut permeability and adaptogenesis. So when we talk about gut permeability, what that means is allowing good stuff in
Right.
and bad stuff out. So you
Right.
want to have a permeable membrane so
Mhm.
things can move in and out easier.
But you don't want it too permeable. Sometimes you get what
No.
they call as leaky gut syndrome, right? And
Exactly.
that's not good either, right? You want
Exactly.
that wall is it's really important for that wall to be
To be
permeable, but in a good way. Like
not
you
in
said,
a good
Sherry,
way.
it's got to let stuff flow as it should. Leaky gut, however, is not a good thing. And so cannabinoids, I think, can help with that. And
Yeah.
then you talked about adipogenesis, right? The creation of
Mhm.
fat, right? The storage of
Right.
fat cells. Now, listen, folks, fat's energy, and our bodies are designed to hold on to a little bit of it. Some of
Yeah.
us more than others, depending on,
Well,
our genetic
fat
makeup sometimes.
but fat protects cells too. So that's the other
Sure.
thing is you need to have a healthy amount of fat and also you need to have a healthy amount of fat in order for specific nutrients to come in. So you have
Absolutely.
fat soluble.
Fat
Yeah.
soluble. Yeah, absolutely. Fat soluble, good things. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, Sherry, even though more studies have been done on THC dominant with the chemotype 1, chemotype 2, which is equal THC and CBD, may reduce the effect of autoimmune encephalomyelitis and suppress neuroinflammation by preventing microbial dysbiosis and also by
Brian.
inducing healthy gut microbiota, which
Yeah.
means it's going to make your gut happy.
It is gonna
You're
make
gonna have happy gut people,
happy gut
those
people.
little folks that are living inside of you.
Exactly. And so here's the studies. So
Yep,
we're just gonna list a couple of them because they're very promising.
yep,
I'll just do the first three and then I'll
do
let you
it.
continue on.
You got it.
So one of the studies that are very promising is lifestyle and metabolic syndrome contribution of the endocannabinoid. Endocannabinoid system acts as a regulator of immune homeostasis in the gut. In
Mhm.
vitro antibacterial activity of cannabis sativa leaf extracts to some selective pathobacterial strains. So
Mhm.
these are just some of the studies that are very promising. What else
Yeah.
we got going on,
Some
Mark?
others, we have a combination of cannabinoids, delta-9 THC and CBD. They may mitigate experiential autoimmune encephalomyelitis by altering the gut microbiome, having
Right.
a positive effect. Prevention of diet-induced obesity effects on body weight and gut microbiota in mice treated chronically with delta-9 THC. So you can see
Yeah.
they looked at delta-9 THC a lot.
Lot,
The
yeah.
next one, share.
The endocannabinoid system links to gut microbiota to adaptogenesis. So exactly what we had just talked about, just that
Yep.
last example. Cannabis extracts affect metabolic syndrome parameters to mice fed high fat cholesterol diet.
Ah,
And then cannabis in pediatric cannabis and pediatric inflammatory bowel disease, change blossoms a mile high. So they're even, looking at this, in kids,
Yeah.
which is
Right.
great.
I mean, they have a microbiome.
Oh, exactly. But I think that's, of course.
In the last 2 studies, the gastrointestinal tract, a central organ of cannabinoid signaling in health and disease. This goes back to that statement by the National Institute of Health several years ago that said the endocannabinoid system is likely involved in every disease state. That's what they publish. The endocannabinoid.
This was the National Institute of Health,
National
right?
Institute of Health. They do a lot of studies. They support a lot of studies that are done in healthcare. And that was a statement that they made, that the endocannabinoid system is likely involved in every disease state. And so it makes sense that in this gastrointestinal tract, cannabinoid signaling would have a major role in the health and the disease state. And then finally, the study was endocannabinoids in the gut.
Yep. Awesome. So the takeaway, right? Here's the big takeaway. A healthy microbiome positively affects mood, energy production, and immune response. 100% effective with cannabinoids, keeping the microbiome in homeostasis. However, besides cannabis, right, there are other things that can keep our microbiome healthy. And supplements, foods, probiotics, and prebiotics. Do we have enough time to go through all this, Mark, or are we over? Because we could cover some of this Friday. Because we're going to go over.
We can move on that. Yeah.
Okay. So this is what I'm thinking. So on
next Wednesday, because there's a lot here.
Well, actually, Friday. So here it is. Friday.
Friday. All right.
Fun fact Friday. We're going to talk about kombucha, so we can pull this entire.
We're talk about all that stuff.
Oh yeah. You're gonna talk about kombucha, how to make it, and we'll get into probiotics, prebiotics, and different things that you can actually consume that can help contribute to a healthy microbiome. So really, really important. Healthy microbiome.
On Friday,
Stay tuned on Friday. Come learn how to make kombucha.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a lot right there.
Okay, so show. we've got a show tonight. Vanessa Cruz.
We do have a show. We're gonna be talking about one of the most things that we had mentioned about that Sangeet Gupta had mentioned. We're gonna be diving into cannabis as a psychedelic journeying tool, which is going to be great. So Vanessa Cruz, she's a cannabis nurse, a psychedelic nurse. She's an end-of-life death doula, and she does some amazing work. And so she's going to educate us on what it means to use cannabis to delve deeply into an internal world. How do you journey using cannabis as a plant? How do you get guided? So it's going to be really cool, and we're going to share our experiences. So that's going to be tonight.
Stay tuned, folks. And then, tomorrow 8 a.m., Friday 8 a.m., and then 9 a.m. on Friday. Energy.
Yeah. And so today, y'all stay with us. Join us today. I'm going to be going to the farm. I'm taking a little green nurse on the go. We're going to be doing a little drive through. Nurse Jamie, Nurse Denise, Nurse Mark, and myself. We have a big event coming up on June 12th. So it's 12th, right? The 12th.
It is. June 12th.
Saturday
noon.
June 12th.
4:20.
Noon to
Yoga,
4:20.
meditation, breath work.
So this afternoon, we're gonna take you all on a little tour. So lunchtime today, come back on the Green Nurse page. We're gonna go live, and we're gonna give you a tour of the farm so you all can see where you're gonna come on June 12th to have an experience with us.
Yeah, baby. All right, my AFA day has started already. This is the only June 2nd, 2021 you'll get. Have that adventure today. Do it. Do it.
Do it. Just say
Sherry. What's it all about?
Oh, thanks, Mark, for asking. It is all about living your best life, helping others do the same, and decreasing stigma around what it means to feel good. Thank you, everybody. We love you.
Thanks, everybody. Love you guys. Thanks for stopping by.